Hey guys and dolls, welcome to episode 39. I'm Jenny O'Connor, and I help multi-passionate creatives slay imposter syndrome so they can grow their influence and self-promote with grace. Let me ask you a question. Are you working a job that brings you no satisfaction while you look over your shoulder at all of the things you wish you could be doing that actually light you up? Do you dream of somehow combining all of your loves into a venture that makes you actual money? I have created the multi-passionate master plan that will help you do just that. And right now, I am looking for beta testers to take this 6-week group coaching program for a test drive. If you are committed to making 2022 the year you stop working at a job you hate and finally find the career love of your life, head on over to jennyo'connor.com/masterplan to grab an application. I am only accepting 3 uber committed beta testers. So if this sounds like something you want access to, don't wait. Go apply today. I am so excited, you guys, because today we are talking to another member of the octopus movement and just an all-around delightful human being, Marc Halpert. Marc is a self-described multipreneur. Since leaving the corporate finance world in 2001, Marc has started not 1, not 2, but 3 companies. 2 of those offer paperless electronic payment services to retailers, small businesses, and nonprofits. His 3rd company, Connect to Collaborate, helps professionals better explain their brand and positioning on their LinkedIn profile pages. Marc is also a speaker at national and regional conferences and an instructor to sales, marketing, and HR departments. And he is the author of several books on LinkedIn strategy. Let's find out how he does all the things, shall we? Hey, Marc, it's good to see you again. How are you?
I am great. I'm so glad we could do this.
Yes.
We've been trying. We finally got there, but thank you.
Tech difficulties are sort of a, regular part of my life, so I completely understand. But I'm so glad to have you here. Lots of fun things I want to dig into. So for those of you listening, Marc and I are both members of the Octopus Movement, which was started by our friend Perry Nopert. I talk about him all the time, and he is the one that I interviewed in episode 18, if you want to check that out. So, Marc, Perry and I have been operating under a theory that multipotentiality is genetic, but that is not the case with your kids, right?
Well, yes. I got it probably from my father, who, when I was in high school, set up his own company as an entrepreneur. No one did this in the 1960s and 1970s. So this was really gutsy on his part. And he continued to work a job. And he had the 3 sons, one of which the oldest I am. And he juggled a lot of balls. My brother has tendencies to be attention deficit. Okay. I know I'm attention deficit. I have never been diagnosed, but I am what I learned from another octopus in Germany is what's called a scanner. I am somebody who finds the next shiny penny and pursues it to the ends of the earth until I see the next shiny penny. So I don't know where I got it. I know my kids don't have it. My wife is from a family of physicists, PhDs in physics, as well as attorneys. Attorneys must be linear. Physician or physicist? Physics people.
Okay.
Let's make it easy for the old guy. Physics people are definitely linear. I'm not linear. All my career I've been on the periphery of the established thought process. I did rather well in my career until I went out on my own. Continue to do well. But until I went out on my own, I was committed to toe the corporate line, whether it was linear or not. And when you get up the ladder in the corporate world, and I did leave as a corporate officer of a $1 billion corporation, I was the nonlinear guy in a linear company. It was a struggle sometimes. I was also working on Latin American finance, which is very nonlinear by nature. by the way the economics work down there, by the way the banking system is controlled by the government, by the way the government controls everybody and everything. So that's very hard for a non-linear guy to work within a linear context in a non-linear geographic environment.
Yeah.
Challenging, really challenging, right? I mean,
wow, that's so many layers.
Yeah. So I left 2001, 2 days before 9/11.
Oh, wow.
In my little linear world of I'm going to go slay the world. I'm going to make everything happen for me. And nothing happened for a year.
Yeah.
Almost went back to corporate. God, I'm so glad I didn't. I pursued the dream to be my own person. And 20 years, I've done well. I've done very well. I look back with everything I earned on my own. Yeah, people help me. You're helping me. I'm helping you. I mean, it's all about the interplay amongst people, but I can pick and choose who I want to help me as an entrepreneur. In the corporate world, I couldn't pick and choose my colleagues.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And there were some really strange people with their own agendas that I worked with.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And I'm so happy to leave them way behind me. And now I can choose my path. And I chose the path to really, as you can see these logos up in the corner here, to have 3 businesses that operate simultaneously. Yeah. And I think it's also multi-potentialite of me to be able to have some clients who straddle 2 and in some cases 3 of these businesses with me.
Totally. Yeah. Multiple businesses, I think, are definitely a thing that we kind of strive for, people with minds like us. I also think just being a business owner, somewhat like, so you don't have to answer to anyone else for whatever your little, idiosyncrasies are.
Except yourself.
Exactly.
Hardest boss of them all. I mean, it's trite. Okay. But it is, because I go to bed at night saying, what did I accomplish today? What can I accomplish tomorrow? Did I do everything right? How can I make it righter, so to speak? Yeah. How could I improve on this? Or how can I plan for the podcast I'm going to do tomorrow? So I thought about you last night in this podcast. I thought about the things I wanted to say, because you never rest. You're always hustling. As an entrepreneur. It never ends.
Yes.
It's not like Friday night comes, you drive home from the big business and you say, I don't have to think about that dump until Monday morning. Mm-hmm. My biggest problem in corporate is that I used to stay awake Sunday night dreading Monday morning. Oh. I now go to sleep anxious to get to Monday morning because I don't know what will happen. And I love the insanity of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I completely agree. Like if work doesn't feel like work, it's very hard to stop doing it, But it's a great problem to have, like no complaints at all for me. I wonder if because I'm a creative person, that's how I would describe myself, as right-brained over left-brained. I have been wondering if multipotentiality is related to people who pursue like more creative things. And I want to ask you that question because you work with linear people, even now, knowing that you are a nonlinear thinker. Where do you think creativity comes in to this?
I am incredibly creative using other people's strengths. Okay. All right. So my greatest challenge is to take somebody, say a 77-year-old person who recently retired from a corporation and who wants to hang out a shingle and be a management consultant. Okay, very linear guy, has 8 patents, very linear thinking. Non-linear in the fact that he said to me, one of his patents, he was told by the patent office, defies physics. There's that word again. I'm not going to use the term of what that profession is because I got into a hole there.
I can't even think of it right now.
It's physicists. It came
to me, they're good.
After I finished butchering the word. But anyway, so he came to me, he says, I need to talk about what I can offer somebody after working in the same business for 30 years. I said, well, what do you want to talk about? He goes, I have no idea. So we begin to create this Q&A, and I have 25 kick-ass questions that I ask people when I start. And I don't ask them all 25 because I'd wear them down and they'd leave. But certain questions, that help me get to the core of their creativity so that my creativity can take their strands of threads and tie them together. So I am a creative in that I crawl in one ear, I look around what's in there and crawl out the other with this idea, this notion of, this is what I think you may want to say. And almost always they go, wow, how did you do that? So that's a cool thing. And then we work off those themes. So two of my businesses are very very linear. That's credit card processing, electronic payments. But what I get my most satisfaction from is creating an online payment system that works within what they're trying to accomplish, but they don't know how to do it. So there is a degree of nonlinear and linear equilibrium that I bring to every project. Everybody does. You can't exist in this world just 100% one way and not another. Artists have to be business people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Business people have to be creative in that they have to bring new ideas to the company, or else they won't stay, or they won't be asked to stay. They won't be incented and paid to stay. Because if you do the same old stuff all day long, you're a clerk. You got no career. When you're an officer and you have 40 years of experience behind you, you take all the benefit of all the experience you have, and I call them experience cards, and you put those cards in your back pocket when you don't need them anymore. And when you need them at the next challenge or the next project, you pull out just those cards, you play those experience cards, and then you put them away for the next time. So your past makes you who you are today.
Sure.
And people who climb on board for the ride with you as an entrepreneur tie their present and their future to you. So your past feeds your present feeds your future, and it goes from there. Now, does that sound like a lot of hype? No, because you have to be cognizant of all this stuff in the client's mind all the time.
Yeah.
Or they won't buy, and they won't come back and buy again. And that's what we all strive for, the repeat buy.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it sounds to me like, of your three businesses, the one in which you get to be the most creative, and the one that I want to talk about now, is being a LinkedIn coach. So you were actually recently named to the list of top 100 LinkedIn coaches. Is that correct?
Can I make it even more fun? Top 5%.
Amazing.
Because there's about 1,000 LinkedIn coaches that I'm aware of in the world. And based upon the number of followers, which is the only way we can really assess ourselves, by people who care to follow us, I'm in the top 5%.
Oh, that's so cool. Yay. Congratulations.
Why did that happen? Thank you. Why does that happen? Hard work. Okay. You don't get to Carnegie Hall unless you practice. You don't get to the Hall of Fame as a LinkedIn coach unless you write about and offer new thoughts to people that they never thought of before, or you add to their existing think tank so that they look to you for your future thinking.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I love it. I absolutely love it. This is ultimately the thing that I think I will end with in my career, although I have no intention of ending, because I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Yeah. Too much energy, too much going on.
I think for multi-potentialites, we might be the ones that just work until we just like face plant. Yeah. Totally. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Can you explain what a LinkedIn coach is or does?
Yeah.
I feel like that might be a little nebulous for some people.
Okay. 3 legs in the stool of my LinkedIn business. Okay. I'm a LinkedIn personal coach. So you come to me and you want to, like the 77-year-old guy, you want to say something on LinkedIn, but you don't know how the hell to do it. How do I draw out of you those things so we can create a full LinkedIn profile? Not just one section blown out, but all of it planned, carefully worded, marketing driven, tells your brand, tells why do you do what you do. Not what, that's resume talk. We don't talk about resumes. We don't read resumes. They're not made for humans anymore. We're looking at LinkedIn because this is where people come to the global water cooler to see what's going on. All right. So I help people one-on-one. That's the coaching.
Okay.
The training part I do, I can come into a corporation, I can come into an office, I can come into a department, I can come into an organization, an association, a membership, whatever it is. They give me the theme, they tell me what their people want to know. I will craft a customized, custom developed presentation for them to learn as cohorts to work each of their profiles and reflect the strength of the group. Okay. So I wrote a book about LinkedIn for nonprofits called You, Us, Them. You write your profile. Your profile has to complement all of our us profiles, so we look like a cohesive unit. And them are the people who are the outsiders looking in to see that the individual and the organization work. No one wants to give time, energy, expertise, or money in that order to an organization that's messed up. So you have to look united and cohesive. And the third part is my newest part of my business. I help people with projects, publicize them on LinkedIn. I just finished working on a project for a woman running a riverboat cruise in Europe next June. I'm working with a guy right now who wants to rebrand his company in Washington, D.C. We're working on how to bring the whole group together to tell the unified story. A lot of the US them concept I gave you just a few moments ago. There's always something, and all of these are open-ended projects in that it's as long as the client needs my advice. I set them off when we're done working one-on-one or group or marketing project, and they go and they take what I've taught them and they learned and they make it happen. And they can always come back to me because they're always my clients. I tell them, you can call me, ask me questions anytime about anything. But when it gets to be consulting, I'll say, stop, I got to do consulting here. The money clock is ticking, and they understand that. So it's a fine line. It's an amorphous thing. Did I go to school for this stuff? Absolutely not. There was no internet when I went to school, so that's a whole other conversation. But nonetheless, this is the most fun I've ever had in my life. And people are like, wow, how did you learn that stuff? I practiced. I took notes. I learned everything I could. And when I got to the point where I wasn't learning anymore and the teachers weren't teaching me anymore, I said, you know what? I can do this better. And I did. And that was 12 years ago, almost 12 years ago. So.
Yeah. I mean, you're interesting in the fact that you work for a long time at a thing, even though you call yourself multi-passionate, you've had a long stretches of doing the same career, right?
Yeah.
What is that? Sequential scanners. And then there's cyclical scanners like me who keep coming back to the same things. And I might just do something for 6 months. But so there's two kind of different avenues.
I didn't really think about that, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I was on the 5-year plan. I stayed as long as I got vested in my 401k and went off to the next place. It just happened that way. I've been working, this is the longest I've ever worked for anything or anybody in my life. It's 20 years. That's 4 times longer than any other job I ever had.
Wow.
So have I found my passion? Absolutely. If you can't hear the passion in my voice, I tell clients this on the phone all the time. If you're not looking for passion, you got the wrong guy, because I got passion for this like coming out my ears.
I love that.
And it's because it's so much fun. And the responses are so rewarding. It's not about me, but they tell me things that they put together stuff in their head that they never thought about before. And they're highly intellectual, highly educated, highly experienced people, but they can't talk about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big problem I run into with the people that I work with as well, is this, we somehow received a message as children that we shouldn't brag about ourselves, that it's boastful. There's just such an icky feeling around celebrating your talents and your superpowers. And so that's sort of what I feel like my purpose and yours as well is to tease those out of people.
Yeah. Great example. I was talking to a woman on a Zoom call. This was a breakout room in one of these Zoom sessions I went to. And I said to her, what's your special sauce? What do you do that's really cool? She goes, I don't know if this is interesting, but I did, I'm like the top seller for my company for 20 years. What? I mean, why don't you tell me this stuff? She said, well, I don't like talking about myself. I said, well, tell me about it. She goes, well, it's not just 20 years. It's not like I did everything in December with a big push at the year end. She said, I have brought in consistently more new clients every month for 20 years. Wow. Than anybody else in my organization. I said, that's
huge.
Why are you not telling us that on LinkedIn? Oh my God. She goes, I don't like talking about myself. Tell us, because entrepreneurs, if you don't tell us about you, someone else is going to tell us about you, and you're not going to like what they say, or it's not going to be as good as you want it. So why are you holding back?
Or someone else is going to tell you about them, and then they're not going to pay attention to you anymore. Yeah. Like if you don't promote yourself, no one else is going to. Like,
I know, and I said to her, lead with that headline, about section on your LinkedIn profile. Because 100%. If I get your name on a short list of people to consider, and I look at your profile, bang, you're going to stand out.
Absolutely.
That short list got so much shorter. It's so important. She goes, that's a really good idea. I think I'll try that. It's like, thank you. I'm so happy to have an effect. She said, I would have never thought about that if you hadn't spoken to you. Okay. I got my satisfaction.
You have done your deed for the day.
Yeah, the click light went off. I love it.
Yeah. So no, that's so huge and such an important piece of the work that I do, and obviously that you do. As a coach.
If we could get it every day, but we can't. We at least go from moment to moment. It's that up the roller coaster, we're at the top, you're coming down the roller coaster, and there's that feeling in your stomach that you've been waiting for the whole ride up. And she says, that's a fantastic idea. I think I'll put that on my LinkedIn profile. I went down the roller coaster. Yeah. And I felt good. And I hung up the phone. I connected with her on LinkedIn, and she thanked me. And I feel like, I had a good effect on somebody. I did my thing today.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so gratifying. I totally get it. It's so great. So I want to switch gears for a second. Did I read correctly that you blog every business day on LinkedIn with a tip for how better to utilize the program? Is that true?
I do indeed. Every business day. I did take Friday after Thanksgiving off. I took Thanksgiving off. Fair. The boss let me have the day off. But nonetheless, I just celebrated my 2000th blog post.
Oh my God, Marc, that's amazing.
How much writing that is? It's like,
what is the secret to your consistency? That's what I want to know. How do you get yourself to do that and show up and even figure out what to write about?
Well, if you call me on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, I'm in front of my computer writing the next week's blog post. I'm looking back on the week. I'm seeing what themes and recurring thematic stuff is coming to me in the week. That woman that I just told you about, she's a blog post. Don't hold back from telling us why you do what you do.
Yes.
And it's all these real life stories that come to me. All these people whose profile I review before I interview with them on a podcast, before I call them for a gig, for whatever it is. I'm reviewing LinkedIn profiles all the time. And I see the same things that need to be improved all the time. I look at industry standards. I look at all different ways that people use the animal called LinkedIn in their own personalized way. When I see something I never thought about before, I will absorb it and I will display it. Hey, here's a cool idea. You probably never thought about this. Or read an article I like. I make that article the theme of the post. And the blog posts are 500 words at the most. I'm not going on and on and on. And look, people, if they don't read it, cool. If they read it, great. If they converse with me about it, which I always ask, I always leave an ended, a call to action. Does this happen to you? What do you think about this? Tell me you're live out there. Talk to me, would you please? Then I create conversation around it. But I have had, it's a huge undertaking. I went into this knowing it was crazy, but I'm a little nuts anyway. But this is the multi-potentialite in me that says, I can do 7 in a sitting, no problem, or 5 in a sitting. I do it.
Wow. Yeah. You are the second person I've interviewed who has a daily blogging practice. And it just blows my mind. But I think that using real life as the that's how you create the content. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense,
It's a living laboratory. I can observe the world through the people who come to me or the people that I see with what they need to know. And I have to assume if they need to know it, there's millions others who need to know the exact same thing. So why not? That's where my following comes from. How I got to be the top 5%. I got people following me in every continent. Well, I can't say that. I don't know about Antarctica, but I know every other continent. They're all following me all over the place. I had the opportunity to teach a room full of Zulu tribespeople in South Africa who were budding entrepreneurs how to use LinkedIn. Now,
wow.
I'm sitting here in suburban Connecticut outside of New York. When would I ever have that opportunity except in a pandemic using Zoom?
Yeah.
But it was all through one woman in South Africa who is the lever, who's teaching these people how to act in the global visibility way. And it's really fascinating. They loved what I had to tell them. They've been learning. They're showing me things that they're using from what I taught them. It goes on and on. I'm doing all this stuff, juggling all these balls at the same time, loving every minute of it.
Oh, yeah. That's so, I mean, you are multi-potentialite through and through with like everything that you say. It's so fun. So I've seen you give advice in the Facebook group for the octopus movement for job seekers who are trying to figure out how to create a multi-passionate resume. So what advice do you give those folks? Like separate resumes for separate jobs or everything on one? What do you think about that?
Oh, I would always suggest all one resume, but talk about all your successes.
Okay.
By talking about your success, you are using the words that show the depth of experience you have. Anybody who's smart, well, let's start over. No human reads a resume anymore. When they go to companies, they go to headhunters, they're fed through a machine. Bleh. Your LinkedIn profile has to complement your resume. Your resume has to complement your LinkedIn profile. Then if they look at one or the other, you have an opportunity to be seen as a total human with all the little strands hanging out on the side, all the little tentacles that you're trying to create at the same time. But talk in more of a functional resume, if you have to use a resume, functional resume way that shows all aspects, all, as I call, facets of the cut stone that you really are. The more facets you have, the more light can come in and the more radiance you have from the core. And I have my people write their LinkedIn profiles from the facets of the stone perspective. Again, these are things people never thought to do. I woke up one morning and say, facets of the stone. That's it. I got this. I got the metaphor. And people get it immediately. Yes. So make it so that the casual reader of your resume or your LinkedIn profile actually sees the light from within by the light that comes from the outside in, shows the unit that you are. Having multiple resumes where they never see all facets of you. So how's that going to be a good representation of you?
No, and that is what I did for years and years and years, basically until I started working for myself, because I was just, that conventional wisdom that we were all taught that we needed to specialize in a thing. Like, so I was like, well, at least this way I can sort of compartmentalize and not confuse anyone when I'm going to get a serving job with all of these other things that, costume design, who cares about that? But so does that mean, let's say, maybe on your LinkedIn profile, if resumes are indeed obsolete, do you list like the title and then all of the things that being that position taught you how to do, that you brought to the table, so you can sort of point to, look at how well-rounded I am?
Yeah. Well, you sort of got it the way I like to do it. And that is, I wouldn't just use titles. CFO or vice president of finance doesn't really tell what you do. It's just a title. It's a name, right? My name is Marc. You can't get to the core of what Marc's all about just by meeting me by name of Marc. So the concept is, instead of just being pigeonholed to write your title in the company in the title box on LinkedIn, tell us functionally what you did.
Okay.
Make it search word capable, because it is. That section is search word findable. Write your successes, your accomplishments. Don't tell me about the company. I don't care about the company. You are either in that company or you left that company. The company has its own company page. Let the company talk. You talk about you in your personal LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
Tell us what you accomplished against adversity. Tell us what things you did where you were either under budget, under the time zone, under the time limit, or you accomplished more than was expected. Where did you exceed expectations? Tell us in your own words. And then everybody you affected well in each of those bullet points or each of those sentences you use on your profile, be sure you can get some of them, those people you worked with, to write a recommendation for you in actual words that reflects in words exactly what, hey, that guy Marc, he says why he does what he does and what he accomplished there. Let me tell you how well he does that why and how well he accomplished that, because he doesn't really tell the whole story.
So smart.
Layers so well.
Yeah.
And plus you have to tell people, today's brain dead animals that we are, the same thing in different places, in different ways, until they finally understand it.
Yeah.
So it's, oh yeah, I saw it. Yeah, he said that. Okay. Yeah. So this person said that about his work there, and he said that before. Okay, it's coming together. I'm getting it, because if your eyes just go across the page, you see it once, it's gone. It's invisible ink. So all this stuff, it's all about approaching it not as the enemy. LinkedIn is not the enemy. LinkedIn is the animal to tame, and it is tameable if you come to it with a plan and a strategy, becomes tactics, and you begin to take those tactics and illustrate the tactics. It's like a novel. Charles Dickens did not write a novel that you would read to the end to see how the redemption occurred for the protagonist against all adversity, against all challenges, and people that were horrible to this, I'm thinking of, I don't know, any of those novels.
Right.
Unless you draw the story through. You won't get to chapter 3 unless you like what you read in chapter 1 enough to read to chapter 2 to read to chapter 3.
Right.
Some of these books have hundreds of chapters. How are you going to get the person to read to it? How are you going to get somebody to read your LinkedIn profile from the top down to see where you came from, to see who you are today, and where you might go in your future? You make them want to read down as far as you can get them to go.
Yeah.
And they get the whole story, and they feel gratified.
Love
enough
it.
to call you. They're gratified to call you. They fall in like with you. What they read better sound the same on the other end of the phone or on the other end of the email or the text, or else the disconnect buzzers go off and they take off and you'll never see them again.
Right.
The fact that they contacted you, that's why you have to be real on your LinkedIn profile. It has to sound like you. I had a client, a near client, she said, "I'd love to hire you. You write my profile." I said, "No way."
Oh my gosh.
No, thank you. It's like, here's a recommendation. You write it, I'll sign it. No way. Take off. Find somebody else. So I told her, "I'm sorry, I'm not your guy." She said, "Well, then I can't work with you." Well, that's fine. Because they kind of pick up the phone and call her, and then she's going to not sound like the LinkedIn profile I wrote. Then she's not going to be well served. So I always tell people, think about the reader's perspective and point of view. What do they want to know about you? If you can't buy from you at 30,000 foot view, no one's going to buy from you. So you have to see what the reader's experiencing in your profile.
Yeah.
Typos, bad grammar, bad pictures, broken links, they're gone. They don't even care about you, especially if you have a job or a function in a company, or you're an entrepreneur and you're paid to pay attention to detail.
I know, God, yeah. And I'm a grammar Nazi, so things like misspellings and incorrect grammar just makes me twitch a little bit.
I will not consider that at all.
Same. I feel like a sign of professionalism is having that stuff down on lock. If it means you have to hire someone, I worked as a copywriter for a long time. If it means you have to hire someone to edit your stuff, then so be it. But come on. That's how you present as the most professional version of yourself.
So I get people who say to me, "I can't write." Well, you know what? 2,000 blog posts ago, I couldn't write either.
What a great point.
And I finished my comment. I mean, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
If you won't keep tweaking your LinkedIn profile to make it better every time you look at it, then I can't even help you. And I've had people who've hired me to help them, and they fought me tooth and nail. And
really?
Why are you being so difficult?
That is
because
so weird.
I'm making them say something they don't want to say.
So, okay, my coach always says, "Why are you a big deal?" Talk about why she had us make a list of it. And I feel like that's exactly what you are having in almost the resume part of their LinkedIn profile. Talk about why you are a big deal. Would you agree? Oh, yes.
It's my Bible. I read this book.
That's also what motivates you, the why of what motivates you as well, right?
Well, anybody can say what, and they won't remember it.
Right.
Anybody can say how. It's a little bit better than what. I reserve how for other people to talk about me.
Okay.
Right? Like I said, why? I have to articulate my why. My motivation is to make my why better and deeper and more useful for other people every time, everywhere I go.
Okay.
So that's my why. So my why is to bring amazing people together from all over the world to help each other. Because I would never have met the Zulu tribes people. I never would have met you. I never would have met multipotentialite. I didn't know the word multipotentialite existed until I met Perry.
Yeah.
And he sort of, in talking to me, I self-diagnosed. Said, thank you, Perry. Now I know what to call myself.
Yeah.
All right. And through Perry, I met you, and through, and we can all, it's the strands and the connectivity and the generations and the iterations of the people that we meet through other people and how we all rub off against each other that makes us all so wonderful. And it's such part of our journey, especially as entrepreneurs, because we have, as I said earlier, we have the right and the authority to surround ourselves with the people that we respect, not assigned to us, but the ones that we want to learn from and nurture back.
Yeah.
And this becomes my why. Martin Luther King, never to compare myself to Martin Luther King or any great thinker, Gandhi, or any of them. They told why their ideals were doable and made sense, not what their ideals were.
Yeah.
They would have never had a following if they just use what or how. It's when you can speak to people and they get the gut why, they'll follow you to the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's what makes it meaningful. That's the connecting point. I totally hear you on that. Yeah. 100%.
You've got groupies and I've got groupies, and we've all got people that we can say, hey, Jenny, I need you for 5 minutes. Will you help me with something? And you'll say, yeah, I'd be happy to. And I know I can pull these strings all over the place, and I get the best of the best as I go along.
Mm-hmm.
And I collect them like baseball cards.
Yeah.
I collect people like baseball cards, and I keep reshuffling them, and I keep reworking them, and they come back in the cycle, and they come back to the front, because there is a cosmic force that makes me fortunate enough to come across these amazing people.
Yeah.
And it gives me the opportunity to put these amazing people in front of other people who can benefit from them. There's my why. There's the give back. What goes around comes around. I so believe it. I'm not a religious person, but I absolutely believe there's something a little bit bigger. It's something that is that chi, the Chinese chi, and there's this force there that gives us a little bit of energy to rub off on each other. Mm-hmm. And I love the concept.
Yeah, so, connecting people and creating those relationships. I mean, that is like, honestly, I have done more of that because of COVID than I ever had before. And that's its silver lining for me.
Love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me after 9/11, after every catastrophe, after every earthquake, hurricane, whatever it is, something good comes out of it. We learn and we proceed and we do better. And what this would, yes, and people have died, and we've lost family, and we've lost friends, and you can't just stop thinking ahead. You have to use what you learned and what they rubbed off against you to do better as you meet others, to do better for them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a silver lining, but yeah, we've learned that you're in California, I'm in Connecticut. We can just do this in real time.
Yeah. Which is infinitely better than just talking on the phone or text. It's so great.
Or email. There's no intonation. There's no hand. I use my hands. There's no hand motion in email.
Right.
So it's all about giving of yourself to other people in the way you want to be recalled, so that they will feel comfortable with calling on you when they need to call on you.
Sure. Yeah, totally makes sense. So along those lines of like connecting people and helping people like grow to their full potential, now that you have self-diagnosed, now that you understand multipotentiality and you understand that it is a superpower and it is not a problem, which I think a lot of us have to like unlearn that. Mm-hmm. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Get out of corporate a lot earlier than I did. Didn't have to think about that one real long, did I?
No, you sure didn't.
I worked for the biggest group of mental cases in my life. I had exactly maybe 1.5 good bosses in an entire career. That good boss is my good friend today.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He's 15 years older than me or so, and doesn't matter. He's out there. He's vibrant. I can go to him. He used to keep every one of my business cards as I progressed in my career, and he collected them. Now, I don't know anybody who does that, has the
so
interest.
interesting.
Isn't that fascinating? And he would have them in a rubber band, and this would be the Marc, pile. And it was always so fascinating. Every time I call him, hey, I got a new job, he goes, send me the card right now. Don't forget, I need that card. It's like, okay. So there was part of him and part of me. And because I learned from him when I was a banker, he was a tremendous tutor to me, or role model to me. Just a huge influence on me. So I would have gotten out of corporate when I've worked for the first mentally ill boss and just realized that this is not meant for me. I know people who are finishing 45 years of working on their own. I should have been one of those guys.
Yeah, that's honestly the same advice I would give to, I wasn't in corporate, but like start sooner, I think is something that I feel like that's sort of a recurring theme. I have to say to, your boss that was keeping all of your business cards, the word scanner comes from Barbara Scher, and her books are sort of what prompted me to start a podcast. And all of this came from her. And one of the things that she tells us to do so that we stop feeling like we never finish anything and we're not experts at anything and what do we have to show for our lives, is to put all of our projects, no matter what state they're in, like unfinished, onto a shelf, and to call that like the shelf of our life's work.
That's great.
And that's what your old boss having all of your business cards, that's kind of what he was doing. This tells a story of Marc Halpert, like in business.
It's like your parents. It's like your parents keeping your report cards from elementary school, and all of my report cards say Marc talks out of turn, Marc talks too much, Marc needs to listen more. I was an entrepreneur starting like really young. I mean, I was out there having a good time talking to people. So I had a thought when you were, and then your mind races as you're doing these things, but nonetheless, there's a reason I do this, and it satisfies me. It does more than that. It satiates me. It gives me the energy to keep going all the time, because there's always another opportunity, challenge, call it what you want. Problems they're problems until you figure them out, until you start nipping at them. So people come to me and say, I don't know where to start on LinkedIn. Oh, it's horrible. So I just won't do it. Well, you're not going to get real far if you think that way. So it's like everything else. You take a little piece at a time. And you nip away at it. You start with one section and you start working on it. And you write several iterations of it as a possible thing that would go there. And you read it and fix it, and you print it out, and you do several of them. And then you take an old-fashioned highlighter, you take a piece of each, a piece of that, a piece of this, a piece of that, and you pull them all together.
So that's not weird to keep going back and changing it and editing it and reworking it, because that's what I do, and I always feel like I must just be a very confused person. But that's
you're never a finished product.
Okay,
you're never done. Every time you sit down, you come to it with a different mindset or a different use of language, a different influence from the moment before.
Yeah.
And once you publish it to LinkedIn, it's not done either. Don't let it petrify out there, because entrepreneurs out there, multipotentialites out there, scanners, all you nonlinear people, you're moving in all directions at the same time. You're never done. So you need to keep going back to your LinkedIn profile and rewording it and tweaking it as you morph along your way.
Oh, that's the pull-out quote of this episode. Like that is okay to do, that it is a constant work in progress, just like really gives me such validation.
I'll show you another book that talks about that exactly, because I didn't make this stuff up myself.
That just showed up in my mailbox yesterday.
You gotta read this book.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm going on a trip next week, and that's going to be my reading material.
You're good.
That's funny, because my next question
9 times. Sorry.
What's that?
I've listened to that book in the car 9 times.
Oh my gosh.
It talks to me in a different way every time. Now, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. What did you say?
My next question was going to be, what book would you recommend? And so say the title of it, because not everyone's watching, they're listening.
The Startup of You.
The Startup of You.
By Reid Hoffman. not because Reid Hoffman is the chairman and the founder of LinkedIn, was the chairman and founder of LinkedIn, but because he just got a lot of great ideas.
Yeah.
That got him the entrepreneurship and the billions of dollars that he has right now. He sees things in a different way. He's got to be nonlinear, this guy. All right. And he is multi-potential in all his investments in all sorts of crazy things that he sees opportunity in. So this book will talk to everybody. It's perfect if you're between jobs. It's perfect if you're an entrepreneur and you don't know where your business is going to carry you and you're just trying to get a hold of that tiger by the tail. It's great if you just need your head reshuffled a few times. Like, get those cards out there and reshuffle the cards and get them back in again.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And like, I just flipped it open, was reading like the book jacket. I was just like, oh, there's so many things.
It's so cool.
Perfect. All right. Well, this has been so informative and helpful. Tell my audience where they can find you if they want to access your daily blogs or they feel like they could use some coaching. Where are you at?
Okay. All right. So first of all, you got to go to my LinkedIn page, linkedin.com/Marc, M-A-R-C, Halpert, H-A-L-P-E-R-T, all one word, linkedin.com/Marc Halpert. Okay. My entire life is there. All right. That is my website. That is my every morning at 8 o'clock, I publish another blog there as well. Now I do have a website and a blog, and the website is collaborate.com, connect to collaborate, because that's what we're doing here. We're connecting in order to figure out ways to integrate with each other and collaborate with each other. On there is what's called LinkedIn Nuggets, which is the blog portion of my website. The website's under construction. It's not horrible. It's still open, so you can see it, but there will be changes as we making changes because I'm changing. Yes. And therefore my website has to change. My LinkedIn page is always changing with me. Yeah. I teach in 4 90-minute sessions, 90. The second time in 2 months, somebody said, 19 minutes? That's amazing how you do that. Yeah. No, 90-minute sessions 4 times over about 5 to 6 weeks. And we have an amazing LinkedIn profile. At the end, I teach in groups, in organizations. I'm teaching at a law school in January. Wow. in Florida. I'm teaching all over the place. I'm teaching bar associates. I teach all sorts of individuals who sell and operate in intellectual property of whatever type. I'm not talking about widgets. I'm not talking about hard goods that your refrigerator manufacturers are not coming to me to teach them LinkedIn. That's okay. And then I take on projects where you want to look at things to this high net worth individual population that LinkedIn is, and you want to talk to those high net worth buyers and deciders in the language on the platform that they're in all day long, every single day. That's the first place they turn. Yeah. So I love what I do. Like I said, if you can't tell, I got the passion. I love it. To me, it's the most fun. Starting a new podcast in January. And if I could take 2 minutes to talk about it. Of course,
please.
I was approached to start a podcast to talk to other baby boomers, such as myself, who have left a career, either because of retirement or because the job disappeared, or in the great remigration of work, they decided, screw this, I don't need this anymore, I'm going to go do something else. But they're at that point where they don't know how to do it, and they want to transition to another field, another way of working, another industry, or just want to be a consultant. And I've done this now successfully 3 times in my career. And I'm going to be interviewing, it's not going to be me talking, I'm going to be interviewing other people who have done this successfully, and everybody can learn from all the lessons these folks have learned the hard way. So the podcast premieres January 11th. Yay. It's through an organization called Vitalcy, VITALCY.com. And Vitalcy is a place where people at the peak of their careers can talk about themselves retrospectively and prospectively at the same time.
Very cool. I love it, Marc. January 11th. I'll put all of this in the show notes so you guys can follow along with what Marc is doing. And thank you again for being here. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. We got to know each other even better, and we're going to work on this big thing we're doing with the Octopus Movement together. So it's even more fun to work with you again. Yes. And thank you for interviewing me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. You take care, and I will talk to you very soon.
Great.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. Be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss any goodies. And if you found this content valuable enough to warrant a tip, you can show your appreciation by visiting buymeacoffee.com/Jenny O'Connor. You can also support the show by rating and reviewing, but if you do, be sure to take a screenshot of your review, post it in your stories, and tag me at your creative fairy godmother. That way you will be entered into my giveaway for the best book I have ever come across on how to slay imposter syndrome, The Middle Finger Project by the inimitable and ever so sassy Ash Amberjay. The contest runs until December 31st, and trust me when I tell you guys, this book will change your life. I love it so much. It's so good, and you need to have it on your bookshelf if you are a creator or a multi-passionate human. And don't forget to grab your application to be a beta tester for my new program, the Multi-Passionate Master Plan. I'm not sure if I mentioned that beta testers get to take the program for free. So those 3 spots are going to go super fast, you guys. Get in on it while you can. I am sincerely hoping to change a few lives with this course, and I would love for yours to be one of them. So you can grab that at jennyo'connor.com/masterplan. Until next time, you guys, I love you all. Get on out there and do the thing.